Hi guys and welcome back to Keep Smiling Adventures, and today we are going over the Sonder Camino Titanium. Now this bike is a gravel bike, but I also use it as my road bike, as my ultra distance road bike. So when I want to go 200 plus miles in a day, when I want to do them types of rides, I use this bike. So in this video, I am going to share with you guys how I set up my gravel bike to be my ultra distance road bike. Let's do it. So let's start with the most obvious thing. If you want to go far, if you want to be able to do 200 plus miles in a day, then you are going to need some fast rolling tires, but you also need them to be, not getting you punctures all the time. So I use the Continental GP 5000 in tubeless, 28 millimeters wide. I have used 25 before and 28. Now, when I'm on a fully loaded bike, slightly bigger 28 I do find slightly better. So for a loaded bike, for the ultra distance setup, I decided to stick with the 28 millimeter setup, tubeless, and I have had very, very good experience with these. These roll super nice. I've also never had a puncture on these tires since putting these on. Before, when I was using the 25 millimeters and now the 28 millimeters, no punctures. I probably covered maybe like 3,000 miles on this current set of tires and still no punctures. So they are the tires that I use on this Sonder setup for long distance. The Continental GP 5000 tubeless, 28 millimeter. Next thing I do differently when I change this bike over from a gravel bike to my ultra distance road bike is I change the pedals. Now I prefer to use the Road SPD pedals on this bike when I am going far. Now there's nothing wrong with the mountain bike style on the road. I just find when I get to like 200 miles or a bit more, 250 miles, I just find it a bit more comfortable having that sort of extra platform of the wider road style pedals. Obviously they're not as great for walking, but when I'm on the road and I'm doing long distance, I very rarely walk. I just find it slightly more comfortable. So the pedals I actually use for the road setup is some Shimano Ultegra carbon pedals. I've used these for ages. They've been on multiple bikes. They just keep going and keep going and keep going. They are great, they are light, and they just feel comfortable. Even after 200, 300 miles, I don't really have any foot pains or anything like that. And I just prefer it when I'm doing the longer distance rides than using the mountain bike style SPD pedals. So the gearing on this bike when it's set up as road is actually the exact same as when I run it gravel. So the gearing is 42-42, the easiest, 11-42 on the back. So this is a perfect gear for me on the gravel side of things, and it is pretty much a perfect gear for me while I'm on the road, especially when the bike is loaded. Now I will say the 42-42 does make me a little bit under geared if I decide to ride this Sonder Camino like without any bags or load it like an unloaded ride. It is a bit spinny, it is a little bit under geared. However, when I am loaded, which is normally how my bikes are set up, especially doing long distance multi-day rides, I will need to carry some camping gear and a few extra bits of clothes. The 42-42 means I can get up anything, and that easier gear just means I don't have to have tired legs. I can just spin and I can just sit in that bike comfortable all day. The other big difference you may notice is the TT bars. Now for so many years I did not use TT bars, whether I was doing 200 miles, 300 miles, multi-day 200 mile rides, 250 miles, whatever I was doing, I just never used them. I just never really could be bothered to get them and fit them. But when I built this bike up, I decided to pick up a cheap pair of token TT bars and decide if I liked them and wanted to keep them. And well, I don't really use them that often when I'm actually riding. They are great for certain scenarios, especially if it's headwindy, especially if you've got like a nice, not too steep downhill, but just nice flowy downhill. You can see, you can tuck up, you can just rest your hands, get off them hoods and just like let your hands recover, because after many hours on the bike, your hands obviously do get tired. So I have got these token TT bars on there, and I will be keeping some TT bars on my bike. However, I will be changing these at some point in the future because I need to get something. I do need to change these so I can adjust the rise, as these ones you just can't. So I will be changing these to something else pretty soon, I think. Something that I can adjust the rise so I can have a more comfortable, relaxed position while riding on them TT bars. While we're on the TT bars, you can see my computer moves away from any out front mount or stem mount. It goes right up on the TT bars. Now I'm using a Profile Design universal half bridge mount. I think that's sort of what they call it. Now it holds the Wahoo far enough away from me so I can be looking where I'm going and still see the map, so it means that I have to keep looking down, which is great for my neck, especially after you've been riding for a good 20+ hours. Now, while I am doing long distance, ultra distance, I obviously need to carry my stuff. So I have opted not to use my full frame bag. I have opted to use the Blackburn half frame bag. It's their older version. The zip is kind of knackered on it really, but it still works fine, just about. All I really use the frame bag for is just storing food. It's super easy to just grab loads of food and eat while I'm riding. The key to going far and ultra distance is to just be on the bike for as long as possible without having to keep stopping and getting off the bike. As soon as you stop, that's it. You ruin your average, you ruin your distance. The longer you can stay on your bike, the better. So being able to eat while you are riding is crucial. So I use the frame bag mainly for storing food in the main pocket, and then it has a slightly smaller pocket, and all I put in there is like 2 inner tubes. That is it. So that's the frame bag I use at the Blackburn old Outpost frame bag, I think it's called. And on the front of the bike we have the Rafa bar bag. Now I use this because it's small, it's light, and it's just not bulky, so it doesn't cause too much of drag when you're especially in headwinds and just generally riding. It doesn't affect the wind resistance as much as like a full bar bag would. Now in this bag I really keep it light, and it's basically just my waterproof jacket, like chain lube and like my keys and maybe a card or something like that. Basically it's just to hold my waterproof gear. I can grab that either while I'm riding or just quickly jump off and get it. It's super easy and quick. Now you will also see right in front of that frame bag I also have a pod sack stem bag. Now this is so I can carry my bottle, well, one of my bottles, because I have tried to use the full frame bag with the bladder. However, I just much preferred having physical bottles. Now when you pick up a bottle and you drink it, you know how much is left. The main issue I had with using a bladder was that you just didn't know how much was left. You had to always have to like stop to actually check that. While when you're riding, you finish a bottle, you know it's empty. You can keep an eye when you need to fill up. Also, I filter water a lot, and it's much easier to use my filter to just pour water into a bottle than it is a bladder. So having that one bottle up on the TT bars using the pod sack stem bag is perfect. It's right there, it's very easy to reach, and it's just perfect. Now on the frame, I also have a slightly smaller bottle just because it fits with the frame bag nicely. And also you will see this tall bottle, and this tall bottle is by Fabric, and it's great. It just basically fits my Allen keys, tubeless plugs and patches, that sort of thing. And it's just neat, tidy, easy to get to. As you'll see, I'm still using the Altura Vortex rear saddle bag. Now this has seen better days. It is getting a bit battered and bruised, and it will be changed at some point, but for now it's just what I've got, and it's actually pretty nice for the road style of riding. It's light and it's quick to get in and out of, and basically I will just keep my sleeping bag and a bivvy in there, and just some spare socks or bib shorts, you know, that kind of thing. They're just the things that you really need. When you're going far, it's all about just going quite as light as possible. When I originally set up the lighting on this bike, I had it pretty much how I wanted. I was using the Exposure Revo Dynamo light with the Exposure Red Eye rear light, and it was working perfectly. Now, a few months went on and I was using that, and then unfortunately the front light just died. It literally just stopped working. Don't know why, never got an answer why it happened or whatever. They basically I sent it back, it got refunded, and I just haven't really decided to bite the bullet and buy it again. I do want it, but for £200+ it's an expensive light, and considering it only lasted 3 months last time, it was just a bit disappointing. So unfortunately I am not using Dynamo lights right now. So for the rear lights I am using 2 different lights. One of them is the Moon Cerberus rear light. It's a USB rechargeable. It's super bright. It's a really good light. Battery is pretty good on it, and it will get me through most of the night, and it's obviously USB chargeable, so I can charge this up with a power bank. But I also use a battery powered light as a backup, so if I do need to charge that at night, I've got something else to use, and that is Lenzine Femto. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's just a very small portable battery powered light. The batteries last absolutely ages. They're easy to get hold of, and it's more of just a backup light. It's not like my main light. I also use this when I go off-roading. Now for the front light, as obviously I don't have the Exposure Revo anymore, which is unfortunate, I am using a Moon Comet front light. So this light is not the best or the brightest, but it does have one thing that works perfectly, is that through the night I can actually plug this into my dynamo, and my dynamo will charge this light while it is actually working, while it is actually on. So I can actually keep this light going potentially forever. I'm not sure how good it is for the battery to do that, but it does work, and essentially is kind of like a dynamo light. It's bright enough for the road, and it lets me charge it while using. Now, I do want to go back to the dynamo setup throughout the night, because obviously it's brighter and it's just better, but for now I'm using the Moon Comet front light, the Moon Cerberus rear light, and the Lenzine Femto rear light as a backup. So guys, that is everything I change on my bike when it's from a gravel bike to a road ultra distance bike setup. That is why I love this bike so much. It is 2 bikes for me. It is my gravel bike, and then it is my ultra distance setup. Perfect geometry for both, and that is what changes on my bike from coming from a gravel bike to a road bike. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to this channel, and let's keep it growing. I'll see you in the next adventure. Keep smiling, enjoy the adventure. Peace.